If you're watching now, and you probably are about 10 to 15 minutes early, so you can fast forward about that far and catch up to the rest of us. I'm getting things set up for the moment, and it takes me a while, and I like to know what I'm doing when I get there. So that's what we're doing. We won't start speaking. It's right now, it's about 5:45. We won't start speaking before about 5 till or 6 o'clock. This is Mill 603, one of everybody's favorite courses. Yeah, I was getting ready to burn, so I turned it off. Okay. Hello, Amy. Welcome. You can talk. Amy, you there?
I am. I'm cooking dinner.
Yeah, I'm trying out to stir my soup too. No problem. We're a little early yet. Hope you've had a good day.
Oh, I have middle school. Never dull moment.
My favorite. I was with my wife's a former elementary principal, and I was with a bunch of former elementary principals last night or 2 nights ago, and none of them really got the whole idea behind middle school or why anybody would want to be there. But
That is funny.
it takes special people. There you are. Okay.
Yeah, I'm cooking dinner, so
That's fine. I had a guy last semester who went to football practice every night with his little boy and talked on the phone while he was there. Okay, we have Melissa. Nice to meet you, Melissa.
yeah.
Uh-oh. Oh, I lost everyone. It went away.
Oh, we usually just unmuted or muted ourselves last year, so like the last few minutes. So
I don't talk as much as Dr. Lamb, so you don't have to worry about that.
it just it stopped a lot of extra noise.
Yeah, we finally figured that out with the football practice. The guy was taking his kid to, but he wasn't allowed to talk anymore. There's Nikita. Welcome, Nikita. Glad you could join us tonight.
Hi.
Hi, whoever you are. How are you? Hello? We're going to be about 5 more minutes before we start, so if anybody needs to run out and get something to drink, as I'll tell you many times in the future, I try real hard to be finished within 30 minutes because I know you guys are all busy people. There's somebody in the Susan Jackson, welcome. Okay, let me see what this is. Can't tell. Some people have names, some people don't have names. Okay. 4 minutes still go. So we got a big crowd. Okay. Okay. Two more minutes. Am I right in thinking that all of y'all have Dr. Stedman for your clinical coach too? Anyone hear me? Clinical coach too, Dr. Stedman, is that correct? Yes, no, maybe, sort of. Hello out there.
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. I think everybody is. And you guys, as long as we can hear each other, you can, you know, we don't get too much extraneous noise. You can unmute and that way you can just butt in and talk. I'm not the world's greatest Zoom master, so sometimes you have to knock me upside the head and say, do it this way. Okay? Any questions about that?
I think I have Dr. Revis.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, okay. I need to gather that from everybody. Hello, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
It's been a very pleasant day in Charlotte today, so yes, it's been very nice. It's almost 6, at which point I will start class. See how many we've added. Okay. Okay, good. So I can officially just recognize everyone and say good evening. Welcome to our first Zoom session for MEL 603. The class, it's a very special class. It's the class where you start to stop thinking about the teacher side of the big table in the office and start thinking more about the the administrator's side of the big desk in the front office. We'll go over a lot of rules, a lot of policies, a lot of things you just got to do. And on the side, I sometimes call this course the course that teaches you how not to get fired, because it's all the things that you got to know, you got to do it, you got to keep up with it, and it's best to go on and start that way now. It's really not so much about your opinion at all for this course. It's finding out what the rules and regs are. Any questions about that? Okay. We're going to start every week by going over the weekly calendar. I believe you all had Dr. Lamb last semester? Okay. I believe he starts the same way, so hopefully that will be something you already have seen. So I'll introduce myself, and we'll talk a little bit about TaskStream and Blackboard and evidence and artifacts and all your favorite things in the world. Later on, we'll talk a touch about master schedule, not too much, just some of the rules that go into that. I'm going to definitely talk about OMA, task, and rubric, and what we're going to do with that. Okay? So, me, Mark Robertson, got my doctorate at UNCC about 15 years ago now, something like that. Worked in Charlotte-Mecklenburg for 30 years. I'm actually a born and bred Charlottean, which is a fairly rare thing to find if you come to town. But I enjoyed it thoroughly. I started out as a guidance counselor and a school psychologist, so I have that kind of more individualized way of looking at things. Sometimes that was an asset, sometimes it was not an asset, but it was something I definitely worked with. So if any of you guys are counselors or school psychologists and want on the side have a conversation about things you need to know or things you need to do to get an administrative job, just let me know. You can email me directly with questions like that. Then became an assistant principal for 7 years. 3 in elementary and 4 in middle. And then became principal of 4 different schools across the next 14 years. 2 elementary schools, 2 middle schools. I opened a building at my second elementary school and changed it from a full magnet to a partial magnet of gifted kids and some of the lower socioeconomic groups in Charlotte. That was interesting. I also opened a middle school, Martin Luther King Middle School in Charlotte. That was extremely interesting. We had Gang Central for a while. And then moved to Sedgeville Middle School, where I opened the partial magnet with Montessori magnet. So I've had lots of different kinds of experiences. I must say, my time at Martin Luther King, although it was not easy, was the most fulfilling part of my public school career. I'm firmly convinced that an education won't get you everything, but it's a good first step in getting something changed for yourself. So we certainly try to provide that everywhere we go. I try to provide it through Gardner Webb and try to convince each of you while I have you that that's the way to go, and that those kinds of questions are of utmost importance to all of us, no matter what our socioeconomic background, but more so for the kids who have less, who are disadvantaged. They need it so bad. And there's a lot of ways to drag them along with you. Okay? Any questions about me or my past or anything like that? Just butt in. Don't raise your hand. Don't ask. Just butt in. Okay? Shake your head, yes. Okay. Just butt in whenever you have anything to say. So, what we're going to do this semester, we're going to do OMA, SKIP, and CAP. So we're going to do a bunch. We're also going to read about rules and regs and apply those to different situations. We're going to have some case studies to do in groups this semester. So we'll do less zooming on people's evidences. You only have 1 required, I think it is, but 4 case studies where you work with the groups, and I assign those in Blackboard. I hope you were able to find them, and I hope they fit what you thought would be a good idea. They're pretty much random. I just counted down. Whoever has the A for their last name, sorry, you always will be in that group. But anyway, everything that goes into the course goes into Blackboard. So all your grade for the course Male 63 comes from what you put in Blackboard, and that'll be all the evidences, at least one discussion of one of your colleagues' papers, feedback for that, and then the case studies. And those results will all go into, you'll put those into Blackboard, and from that, I'll build your grade. And basically, everything's 100 points each. I will, if I read your evidence and I think, well, you know, your APA stuff is a little weak, I might chip it 5 points off of it and make it a 95. I hope by this point you realize that the only people who are really interested in your final grade other than proficiency is your mother. So just be calm about the 5 points. It's just there as a guidance piece. Your CC2, Dr. Stedman or someone said they had someone else, is the one who actually gives you the go-ahead to task stream with your evidences. So you'll need to put them into my box in Blackboard for the course grade, but you also need to run them through your CC2 for the final go-ahead to task stream. If I say it's fine, that's not nearly as important as your CC2 saying it's fine when it comes to the final portfolio and task stream. Is that clear as mud?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he or another CC2 will be the person who says, okay, your OMA 1 looks good, move on. What I'll do is say, looks good to me, but you need to check with your CC2 also. Okay? We got a lot of those this semester. Now the task stream functions that you'll finish by the end of the semester, you'll do the OMA, which is four tasks long. You do the skip, which is also four long, and you do the CAP, which you only do the first one. That's a heck of a lot of writing, you guys, and a heck of a lot of gathering data and trying to meet with people and putting things together. So you might look at this calendar as a guideline. I'm not going to chase you about dates. You're grown-ups now. It doesn't count 10 points off to be a week late or 2 weeks late, because the only person you're really messing around with is yourself. So it is crucial that you keep to the timeline, but because you want to, not because I'm chasing after you, telling you to. Okay? You do the OMA, the skip, the CAP 1. Also, your CC2 will be responsible for your internship log, all the wonderful work with competencies, and all the wonderful work with dispositions, because NELS 3 is 603 is one that requires that you turn in all those other functions to your CC2. Okay. If you're now determined to drop the class, be sure to send me an email so I can guide you on the way to do that. We want to do it before you lose your money. So hopefully that's not the case. Also, if you think you're not going to finish on time, we'll need to approach incompletes well before the end. It's not something like we can tack together right at the last minute and get by with it. So if you get stuck in a life situation or whatever, where we need to do an incomplete or we need to drop, you need to let me know as soon as possible so I can get you in touch with the right people to do it. Okay, but that won't be anybody, right? I think we lost one guy last week to life change. Okay, so getting back over here to our weekly schedule. I've introduced myself. I talked briefly about task stream and Blackboard, but I want to talk more about Blackboard. About OMA. Okay. Organizational management. This is the one where you build a schedule, you figure out the way things go, you figure the school structures, rules, procedures, etc. Now, when I was in 8th grade, I was required to learn to outline my papers. And I mean, we got grilled on outline. So I learned it way back when I was a young man and have continued to do it all my life with everything I ever wrote, including my full dissertation, which was a heck of a long outline. But what I've done is taken that skill and put it into an outline of your OMA paper, highlighted everything that you must put in there. So hopefully you can use those highlights as subheadings, and then you add your own information there to fill in the blanks. That way we won't have to do a lot of hunting for each other's information or a lot of hunting for this note or that note. I've run this through one of our evaluators, one of your evaluators. So, that person gave me a flying big thumbs up for that. So hopefully it'll be useful to you. But let me show you a little bit here. You do have the screen, right? You can see this paper? Okay, good. Okay. OMA 1, first task is contextual analysis, and you can just use boldface, put these in, and keep going. Because I'm a great believer. The evaluators read like millions of these things, millions. And I'm a great believer in when someone's scoring your work and they're following a rubric, that if you just knock them over the head with all the words that were in the rubric to show that you were in the right place at the right time with your evidence work, then you'll be set and ready to go. So you got to put in demographic information for the students and the staff. You need to note that those things are there. And actually that should have been boldface there to make sure that those demographic comparisons were there as well. So it's not just putting down how many white kids or how many black kids you have. It's actually information that compares your school demographics with national demographics. They need school structures, rules, procedures. You can use handbooks, whatever. But you want to make these things so that someone can read it and follow it and understand what's going on without having to look all over the place. What I want to really stress to you is you don't just take things wholesale and stick them in like, I'll just put everything I ever heard about demographic information in, and maybe some of it will stick, because it won't stick and it'll get sent back to you, and that would really stink. Let's see, schools, procedures, the budgeting process. Ooh. Definitely, you want to show how this should have been bold-faced. I'll just do it. Because those things have to be included for this to work out right. There's one question somewhere along the way where you have to show how the school leadership team participated in budgeting. You need to state that clearly and succinctly so that the evaluator sees it and knows it, because that's one that gets sent constantly. Someone following the pod? Okay, but if you go down through this outline, I think you'll find you have absolutely no issues with getting stuff in. This is all about building a schedule so that your kids and school can do better. Some principals are real tight with budgets. I will tell you, the budget is supposed to be an open document. A lot of principals don't use it that way, but you should be able to get it if you ask for it. Certainly, when you build a schedule, this is to build a schedule so that the kids can do better, not because you just want it. You notice on there, C, alignment with legal requirements for ongoing teacher collaboration, planning, and instruction. We'll talk a minute about that tonight There's also a lot of information in Blackboard for the first Zoom session that you'll want to pull up. Then the key for any schedule, you always start with the EC kids, with the exceptional children. Mama. Okay. And you want evidence of input from faculty. Wherever it says you form a group, make sure you have a group. Wherever it says you do it all by yourself, you make sure you do it by yourself. It says you need a graphic organizer, you need a graphic organizer. The final part of OMA 4 is a reflection on the competencies. You have to address a minimum of 12 at the end of OMA. Now this is due pretty soon. Let's see if I can find that. Yes. If you look down through your weekly calendar, you'll see the OMA 1 is due week 4. That's less than 4 weeks away. OMA 2 is due. OMA 3 is due. It really gets in there and gets going. I start slow with the assignments when I say they're due. But if you're on my schedule and keeping up with my schedule, you'll finish. But you better not fall behind yet, because it's about as slow as I think you can do and be able to get through what y'all got to get through. What I'll do is take this document, the OMA document, the outline document, I'll attach it to the YouTube video of tonight's course, so you'll have that to work with. And, you have my permission to use it however. But you need to be finished with OMA completely so you can start skip week 10. That's in late March. Because then the whole skip just comes bam, 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 bam. And finally, our last week of class, last full week, about 2 weeks from, your Cap 1 will be due. And as we get to each one of those in the outline or in the course calendar, I'll pull up the same kind of outline form that just shows you with OMA to show you how you can put it together. You may have any questions about any of that?
If we get information from maybe our school's data manager about our demographics of our school, how do we cite that?
That's the personal communication.
Okay.
Unless she takes it from some source.
So if it comes from like a data source on the computer that the school compiles itself, communication?
So just the school itself keeps the information. It's not sent to the district. It's not sent to.
It's sent to the district, but I work at Early College High School, so we have a really tiny school. We keep a lot of our information there with our one data manager, and so I was talking to my principal about it today, about collecting this information. He said, oh, well, Tracy has all that in Power School, and you can just get that information from her.
There's got to be a way to cite it. You can probably cite Power School as a.
Okay.
Yeah, but definitely cite, especially since it's semi-protected information.
Okay.
Make sure you get the kids' names out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's the way to approach it.
So are we not allowed to use the old school profiles that we've done for our AppSell and AppTel for our demographics?
Yeah. In fact, I don't know if Dr. Lamb explained it to you, certainly to me many times. This whole process across the 3 semesters goes from building a plan for some kids putting all of the factors that make into a school plan at the end, you'll use, especially if you're the same school, use the same APTO, OMA, CAP, or skip and CAP will all feed in to your final SIAP. In fact, when we get to the SIAP, that's where my personal interns are now. It's almost cut and paste, as long as you cut and paste with the idea that I need to write new segues and write new connectors and make it into something readable. But your information doesn't go away. You can keep pulling it up and use it. Okay? Just don't leave something in there that makes it look like you didn't check. Any other questions? Okay. Most weeks, now I have struggled with Zoom and how to do a proper class ever since I began this 6 years ago. I'm still trying new things. And what I'm looking for is the opportunity to discuss and cover things. But I find that when I come online, everybody kind of just looks at me in stunned silence, and we go through a PowerPoint or something, and then we say goodbye. So I'd like a little more involvement than that. So what I thought I would do is like I used to do when I had face-to-face classes in Charlotte. And that was, if you came prepared and discussed the discussion question for the week, then all you have to do to enter for class credit was just type in class and feed. But you got to participate in the discussion. And if you're not ready to discuss, or you feel like you can't make 6 o'clock or whatever reason, then you can write them like normal, and that's fine. Does that sound intriguing?
So you're saying we could discuss, instead of doing the discussion board, we could have a conversation over Zoom like this?
Yes. So like next week, discussion board 1, locate copies of school emergency plan, read school law, and assess your school plan. Okay? So we would just start with everybody doing that for their school. Probably there'll be 6, 8, 10 people most weeks, is my experience. Some people just don't like the format, whatever. And which is fine, and they can write their discussion board answers. But say you're all here tonight and you all kicked in a little bit something about the school emergency plan, and I looked at ours, and it's crazy. The only person who has it is the principal, and he's not at school half the time, and no one else knows what to do. That's a true story, actually, from one that I saw. And then all you have to do for a placeholder for the coursework is write class.
Okay.
And I can do 100 points. Make sense?
Yep.
Anybody say no, I hate that? Well, if you know you hate that, then don't come and write it. It's fine by me. Okay, good. So let's look just a minute at scheduling do's and don'ts, or actually legal requirements. I'm not going to read this to you because you can read better than I can probably anymore, but I did go through and make some highlights today that I want to talk about as we begin this journey into the other side of the desk. So if you have a copy of that, I can pull it up. It's actually on the Blackboard website for Zoom 1. You can pull it up there and add it to your to files. So when you're the principal, you're supposed to provide a duty-free instructional planning period and duty-free lunch periods, 5 hours a week. How many people work in schools where that's not true? Yeah, it never was true in my schools. It also has a lot to do with how you define duty-free instructional planning period, because I mean, that's when you meet with groups. So it's sort of like duty-free from not standing there while kids run around the cafeteria, but it's not duty-free in terms of just I've got nothing to do. But you need to plan your schedule to look like that. That's fundamental number 1. Okay. Running down through the requirements, the calendar requirements are set by whatever school board you work for, so that will vary from school to school. The number of teacher work days are partially designated by the state, but determine which days those will be by your districts. The bottom of the page, it starts with the number one duties of a classroom teacher. Okay, you think that would be teaching, but it's not. Number one, maintain order and discipline. Number two, provide for the general well-being of students. Sorry, my mouse is dying. Number three, provide some medical care to students, and that can be a lot. I had a severely physically challenged student at one school who had to have a catheter changed every day, and we had to find someone on staff to do it. We didn't have a nurse show up or anything like that. I was very fortunate that I had people who were willing and able to do that kind of work, but it can be a real problem for a lot of schools. Number four, out of all the things teachers are supposed to do, that's actually the fourth thing on the list, okay? Then you got plans for professional growth, tell kids to come, turn in all your required reports, and take care of the school building. So teaching is actually about halfway down, which makes sense when you really think of it. I don't know how many of you have kids, but I can just about guarantee, no matter if you're a good parent or a poor parent, those kids are still the most important thing in the world to you. And them being safe at school is probably more important than whether they learn to read. So just always be aware of that. You cannot go overboard with that. Many responsibilities, according to principals. I'm going to go down to this one. Manage the school's budget and finances. You're going to have a financial secretary. She or he is going to know what they're doing. They're going to tell you they know what they're doing. And you're going to believe they know what they're doing, but you're still going to check. Okay? Promise? I have a very dear friend who was a principal in Charlotte who broke her leg. I mean, not broke it, pulverized her leg and was out of school for 6 weeks. And in the meantime, her financial secretary wrote checks from both of them, because you have to have a double signature, but there's no one there to sign for the principal. So the secretary stole the money. And my friend, despite being out legitimately for 6 weeks, was blamed and said hadn't provided the proper guidance. So legally it all washed out, and my friend ended up partly okay because she didn't lose her pay, her principal's pay, but she lost her principal's position because that's not a property right. She became an assistant principal, which is a really crummy feeling if you're a principal and then if you go the other way around. It's one thing to be an assistant principal getting a principal's job. It is not a good thing to be a principal getting an assistant principal's job. So I just tell that story to make sure that everyone, as we go through this course and we talk about budget and finance, which a lot of teachers have no real knowledge of. I certainly don't. I can keep my house books, but I can't keep a business book. But her situation certainly sold me on the fact that I always need to sell to you guys how important it is to really keep up with budget and finances when you're principal of a school. Essential. So you also get to do overall services of schools, building maintenance, cafeteria services. They all come under your purview as principal of the school, things that you need to be aware of. Again, you'll look for a good cafeteria manager, you'll look for a good head custodian, but you always got to go behind and just take a look. Not overtly, not annoyingly, like I don't trust you, but just keep your eyes open. Okay. let's see, where did that one go? Excuse me. This is one that we missed far too often too. I'm going to push this one on you. As principal, you are the public face of the school. It's easy to fall into the trap of, I need to get this done or that done. I need to get my statistics in. I need to assess and disaggregate scores. Those are all essential things, but you are the face of whatever your school is. So you got to be available. And lots of principals are not seen nearly as much as assistant principals, but you have to recognize that you're it. You're no longer able to blame it on anybody. It's just crucial. One of my mentors said, the principal stands in between the district leaders and the school staff, and his or her job is to make sure that nothing that comes from above gets through to below, and nothing that comes from below gets up to above. So in other words, keep the face of the school at all times. Now, those of us who are in big districts tend to have more money, but less flexibility. Those of you who are in smaller districts may have more flexibility without more money. So the key is to find out where you can make change happen and how you can use stuff. Okay? This is one that may be known. You get to actually place kids in grades as, where you go? Sorry. You determine the appropriate grade for that a kid goes to school in. You're actually responsible. You can actually change that. You can actually take that seventh grader who's been in seventh grade 3 years now or whatever that new laws make possible and change that. You are the person who, as principal, who's in charge of all that stuff, and still are, even though other things may have changed. This accurate reports, I'm going to admit to you right now, I was not impressed by lots of paperwork, but I found quickly that it could get you into more trouble than it was worth, and to get it done and to get it in on time. So just know that. Another thing you're responsible for as principal is fire drills. And I'm sure you all laugh, oh, it must be the last day of the month we're having a fire drill. But you're the person whose life is, or whose job is in the line for having them or not having them. Once a month, once within the first 5 days of school. I mean, you can actually lose your license over that one. Okay. Discipline students, assign duties to teachers with regards to discipline. How many of you use PBIS or some facet thereof? If you do, you can actually gather data that's very useful for this. But one thing you must do as leadership is remember the first part of the duties of teachers were to maintain order. That's your first job. And you got to make sure not only have you put out a plan for coverage, but that people are following it too. Okay. And if someone breaks the law, especially with felonies against the law, you need to call the police, or you need to call your boss, or you need to tell everybody who is above you exactly what happened as quickly as possible. Because that's another one that will come up and jump and make a mess of things. There's another friend of mine found out this year. Fortunately, he had done everything he was supposed to do, so he came out okay. But the child's mother had reported him as being negligent. School budgets and school improvement plans. Those are public documents, you guys. It drives me crazy how many of my Gardner-Webb students are unable to get a copy of the school budget or a copy of the school improvement plan. But those are legal documents, certainly in North Carolina, and I believe in South Carolina as well. So you got to do it. You got to have a new school improvement team. You got to take it seriously. You got to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Any questions? That's just the short and skinny of what a principal's responsible for. And that's not even, we haven't even started yet. Okay. If there are no questions, I'm going to wrap and tell you that next week, if you want to participate, take a look at the calendar, discussion board number 1, locate a copy of your emergency plan, read the section in school law, and then be able to assess, ask questions, answer questions. Just be willing to talk about what you found just for a minute. It doesn't have to be bad. If it doesn't have to be long. If it's bad, certainly don't use it for your school or anybody's job. Couch it in terms that it could be somewhere else other than yours, because YouTube documents are public, and I wouldn't want that to come back to you. Okay? Any questions? Everybody ready to start writing on their someone pulled the plug on Irma right then. So everybody started in Irma tonight. I believe there's a returning students town hall next Wednesday, the 23rd. Did y'all get notice of that?
Mm-hmm. We did.
So that'll be for everybody in 603, 604, and 605. Until then, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next Tuesday night.
Are we supposed to contact our Zoom groups this week?
Yeah, go on and get those set up.
So just set it up, or do we need to contact them?
Well, contact each other and know what you're doing. Take a look at the master schedule and kind of lay out a plan.
Okay.
Okay.
Where will we find the outline that you showed us?
I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to attach it to the video tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I've got one for Skip. I've got one for Cap too, but I'm not going to send those until we get further into the semester. Any other questions? Good. Thanks. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Thanks.
Oh, baby.
What?